Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cindy Shao, the president of the Asian American Chamber. We're excited to welcome everyone to be with us. And today we're very excited to present this very important webinar on Northern Virginia Express Lane Network, I-66 outside the Beltway Express Lane updates. And today, we're really excited to have two experts, Chris Doherty from I-66 Express Mobile Partners. Chris is the Director of Corporate Affairs at the I-66 Express Mobility Partners. Also, Michelle Holland from VDOT's Northern Virginia Mega Project is here with us today to give us very important updates on this very hot topics. I know it impacts everyone in our daily life, no matter, personally or business. So everyone noticed 22.5 miles of the construction activity on I-66 from the Beltway to Gainesville. The new I-66 express lanes outside the Beltway will open in December 2022, adding to Northern Virginia's Express Lanes network, which will then be 90 plus miles. So, two experts today, they will update us on this I-66 Express Lanes project. And they will also discuss how the new express lanes and the project improvements will benefit your commuting, personal and the business travel. VDOT will also provide information about its I-495 Northern Extension Express Lanes project, which includes an approximate 2.5 mile extension of the I-495 express lanes from near the Dallas Toll Road interchange to the George Washington Memorial Parkway in the vicinity of the American Legion Bridge. So before we welcome the speakers, I would like to just take a few minutes to share something about the chamber. First, I would like to recognize all the wonderful board of directors, the leadership team of the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. Also, if you are not a member yet, we welcome you to consider a membership and join to be a part of the AACC family. Here are the benefits you will enjoy. And also, it is so important to recognize all these wonderful chamber sponsors and partners. With their generous sponsorship, we are able to present events and programs like today's webinar. So we have some upcoming events. Beginning of next year, we're featuring Future of Work. It's a 3-part webinar series. The first one will be held on January 7th about the Great Resignation. Also, this is a signature event of the Chamber, Jules Savage Chamber Awards Gala, our annual signature events. Welcome everyone to book your calendar and join us May the 28th. Our title sponsor is the Live Casino and the Hotel. Now, let's welcome our speaker. Our first speaker, Christopher Doherty. So Christopher is the Director of Corporate Affairs for I-66 Express Mobility Partners. He's responsible for all government and the community relations for the developer, concessionaire for the Transform I-66 outside the Beltway project. Prior to joining Express Mobility in 2017, he held the policy and the communications leadership positions with Panjo Corporation, Nextel Communications, and AT&T Wireless Services. He began his career working for the state senate at the Maryland General Assembly. Chris is a graduate of the Washington College in Chestertown, Maryland, and holds a certificate in executive leadership from the Georgetown University McDonough School of Business. Welcome, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us. Now you have the mic.
Okay, thank you, Cindy, and thanks to everybody for joining the call. With me is Michelle Holland, and I'm going to assume you're going to introduce Michelle from the Virginia Department of Transportation when we get to her slides. We're very pleased to be with you today and answer your questions and give you a lot of information about the $3.5 billion construction project that is going on I-66 outside of the Beltway. It may represent a short-term inconvenience while we do our construction, but over the long term, it will deliver a lot of benefits to residents, businesses, and travelers in the region. Some people we usually don't need to explain this to, but for anybody who's been driving for the last generation or so in Northern Virginia knows that I-66 has been known for extreme congestion, and there are certain parts of I-66 that handle up to 200,000 vehicles a day, and there aren't many transit options once the orange line ends. So that's the current state of the highway, and that's why there's a need for the project that we're undertaking. We can go to the next slide. So what is the goal? We are calling the project Transform 66 outside the Beltway. Virginia has also made significant investments in the last several years on I-66 inside the Beltway, so that's how we distinguish it. But our goal is pretty straightforward. We want to relieve congestion in all of the lanes on the highway. We want to move 2,000 to 4,000 more people per hour, especially during peak periods during the day. And part of what I referenced on the last slide, this is a multimodal project, meaning more than just automobile passengers traveling on the highway. So as part of that, we're constructing 4,000 new park and ride spaces to help create a carpooling culture, as well as provide more access to transit. And there are several opportunities we have as we do this project to improve safety at various points along the highway. We can go to the next slide. So our project, to drill down a little more specifically, we are constructing 2 express lanes that'll be in each direction from Route 29 in Gainesville all the way to the Capitol Beltway. When those express lanes open late next year, anybody traveling carpooling or what we call HOV3, that means 3 or more people in the car, and buses, transit will travel for free. Those who are not HOV using the express lanes will pay a toll. And those tolls are based on congestion, so we can keep the traffic flowing. If you're familiar with the express lanes on the 495, the Beltway, or on I-395 or I-95, it's very similar in terms of how the tolling will be placed. There will also be 3 regular lanes in each direction with no tolls, and there are certain places where there will be connections from ramp to ramp between interchanges, meaning that we'll be reducing the amount of times cars need to switch lanes to get from point A to point B. And there are safety improvements going on at many of the interchanges. For example, improvements in some of the turning radiuses at interchanges to make getting on and off the highway safer. There's also a lot of new transit service that's being planned as part of the project. So OmniRide, which is the Prince William County transit service, is adding more routes that'll be accessing those new park and ride facilities out in Gainesville and Manassas. And we are building 11 miles of bicycle and pedestrian trail, which we call a shared use path, that is connecting to existing and future trails in Fairfax and Prince William County. So really giving people more choices for them to get from one place to another. We can go to the next slide. So some people might ask, who is I-66 Express Mobility Partners? We are VDOT's partner on this project. A public-private partnership is where private investment is able to address a public need. So in this case, the project is being delivered at no cost or no taxpayer cost to the Commonwealth of Virginia, but providing this significant improvement, which will relieve traffic congestion. Overall, the project is worth about $3.5 billion. 2.3 billion of that is for the actual construction of the highway. And as I've mentioned before, transit will be expanding. So toll revenue is also funding the expansion of transit options for people over the lifetime of the contract. And when we broke ground on the project in 2017, we provided just under 600 million to VDOT and Northern Virginia to address other transportation needs along the I-66 corridor. Our view with that investment was the more we can improve and relieve congestion adjacent to I-66, the better I-66 will perform. So Fairfax County and Prince William County are undertaking projects right now with those funds to do things like expand the Balls Ford Road corridor in Manassas. Fairfax County just broke ground on a new parking garage at Monument Drive. VRE is using some of those funds to enhance and improve the Manassas rail station. OmniRide, the transit service in Prince William County, used their funds to build a new Western maintenance facility to better serve the commuters along I-66. Under the contract, we will operate the roadway for 50 years, but VDOT, the Commonwealth of Virginia, continues to own the highway. And this is an innovative approach that we were able to take to really allow us to suggest and implement a lot of improvements that will contribute overall to the benefits of the project. We can go to the next slide. You know, one thing I thought I'd mention, especially for your group, is there are very aggressive goals, which we think is a very positive thing for us to contract with disadvantaged business enterprises and for small women-owned and minority businesses. We have a link here if anybody's interested in working with the project. They're constantly updating the types of services that we are contracting for. And to date, we've worked with over 225 local companies on the project. Right now, as we speak, there are about 2,000 people on the job every day working on I-66 to deliver these improvements. And we can go to the next slide. So where are we now? I always love using a roadmap to describe how we're building a road. We broke ground in early 2017. Construction began, or I'm sorry, in late 2017. And then we've really been going full speed ever since. In order to encourage carpooling during the construction phase, we opened up just under 1,000 park and ride spaces out near Gainesville, and some new transit lines were already installed as part of helping people move during the construction period. And then in November of 2020, for those of you who travel the Route 28 corridor, we finished a significant milestone to improve north-south traffic flow by the removal of the 4 traffic signals that were at I-66 north and south on Route 28. That is part of a broader VDOT project to remove all of the traffic signals from I-66 along Route 28 all the way up to Route 7, which has really improved traffic flow there. And we are on track to open the express lanes just about 12 months from today. And we can go to the next slide. So one of the features of the project is transit may expand in the future. So in most places along I-66, we are reserving space in the median so that if future metro expansion westward happens or some other type of transit or rail in the future, that space is available to us. So this gives you a cross section of what you would see on the sections from Centerville to the Beltway and from Manassas to Gainesville. And then we can go to the next slide. In the area from Manassas to Centerville, you'll see there is not a median reserved because we're space constrained there. But in the future, if transit does expand out west, we would have to re-engineer this section of the highway to accommodate whatever transit might take place. We can go to the next slide. So what you might be seeing today, if you were driving on I-66 with all of this construction, we have basically widened the highway, and now we are shifting the traffic to the outside of the roadway, which is right up against the edges, which will be the future general purpose lanes, so that we can focus our work on the interior lanes being built along the highway. So this is a recent aerial photo that shows how traffic has been moved to the outside while we continue construction on the inside of the highway. And we can go to the next slide. So very similar, if you're familiar with the express lanes on 495 and on the Beltway, the exits sometimes align and match up with what today's existing interchanges are. And there are other places where you can access and exit the express lanes. So this map just gives an idea of the length of the corridor and where you can get on and off the new highway. And you'll be seeing a lot of information from Michelle and I and VDOT and our company educating the public on how the express lanes will work over the next 12 months. And we can go to the next slide. So how do express lanes work? I don't want to take for granted that some of you are probably already familiar. But for those of you who might just exclusively be in Maryland or points north or points south, express lanes are basically a highway inside of a highway, and they're designed to move more people. For example, the express lanes on I-95 actually move more people than the general purpose lanes when you add up how many people are carpooling or taking buses or van pools. So the idea is to use this strategy called express lanes to move more people. Easy Pass or an Easy Pass Flex transponder is required to use the express lanes. There's no cash tolling. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Easy Pass Flex is how you can declare that your car has 3 or more people in it, so you would not have to pay a toll in that instance. And we rely on everybody being good citizens and not trying to say they're carpooling when they're not, because we'll find out who you are. So as I mentioned before, there's dedicated access and exit points to the express lanes. And then how tolling works is we use the term dynamic. The tolls actually are set by an algorithm that's tied to traffic flow. So it might not seem intuitive, but when you see the tolls rising, that means capacity on the lanes is getting to a point where the travel speeds might be jeopardized. So you would see the tolls increase in that type of situation, which helps maintain that traffic flow. We will also have a trip planning feature on our website and our mobile app where you will able to get an estimate of what your toll will be prior to you taking a trip when you're planning your trip. And what you'll be able to see is the average toll over the previous 180 days from point A to point B based on the time of day that you're looking at. So you'll have an idea of how much it might cost at 8 a.m. to travel from Gainesville to Chainbridge Road, for example. We can go to the next slide. So we have a lot of information on the website, that VDOT's website, transform66.org. There are actually 2 sections to that website. One is about outside the Beltway and one is about inside the Beltway. And we also have that video that we had the audio problems with a few minutes ago sitting on that website. The main thing, if you work, travel, or live in Northern Virginia, is we have just over 8,000 people that have signed up for alerts. Once a week, we let the public know what to expect for upcoming work. A lot of times we're doing either lane closures or, in the case of major bridge construction, we might be closing portions of I-66, overnight or on off hours. And receiving the alerts is a really handy way to know when there might be construction activity that would impact your travel, so you can plan to take a different route or plan your schedule accordingly. That's the best way for us to get the word out. So to wrap up on my portion of the presentation, the investment that we're making in I-66 outside the Beltway is part of a much broader strategy that Virginia has been pursuing over the last decade to relieve traffic congestion. So I'm going to thank Cindy for being the best slide advancer I've ever worked with on a Zoom call. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Michelle Holland, who's the manager for Mega Projects Communication at VDOT.
Great. Thank you, Chris, for that nice segue. I appreciate it. Hi, Cindy. Did you want to say anything, or do you just want me to go ahead and get into our slides?
Oh yeah, thank you so much. And we are so appreciative you can take time out of your busy schedule and join us, give us this update. Yeah, please go ahead, and we look forward to your presentation.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Chris. My name is Michelle Holland, and I am with the Virginia Department of Transportation. I'm with their Northern Virginia Mega Project section, and I manage the communications on the projects that are managed by mega projects. 66 is the work that's going on the I-66 corridor is one of the programs that I'm working on. As Chris indicated, we have other initiatives that are current and upcoming throughout Northern Virginia District related to express lanes and mega projects. So I wanted to give you an update today on the 495 Northern extension of the express lanes project, which we're about 3 years into. And before we go there, Chris had pointed out that 66 is part of a larger regional effort to implement express lanes as a travel solution and new travel option for drivers throughout our region. This map shows you that we have quite a few miles of express lanes that are already in operation and are upcoming or in the planning phases throughout Northern Virginia. In the future, we will eventually have a 90 plus mile express lanes network throughout Northern Virginia. And what that means is that the express lanes on these various interstates within our region are seamlessly connected so that a traveler who's using them can have the same consistent, faster and more reliable trip that they have on express lanes throughout multiple highways, and they can seamlessly connect from one highway to the other. We have 62 miles of express lanes that are already in service. We work with private partners to operate express lanes on I-95. We have about 29 miles there that'll take a driver from just south of Stafford County, clear up to the DC line or to the Capitol Beltway. And that's where the I-395 express lanes picks you up and takes you to the DC line. That's about 8 miles. On I-495, we have a 14-mile express lane corridor, and it goes from essentially the Springfield interchange to the Dulles Toll Road interchange around that area. And that went into operation in 2012. So that was our first real express lane roadway that we began operations on here in Virginia. On I-66 inside the Beltway, VDOT operates about a 9-mile stretch of express lanes that are in operation during rush hour times only, during weekdays in the peak travel condition. So for those of you familiar with that stretch of 66, you may recall that several years ago, it was restricted to HOV drivers only during rush hours. And what we did is we made some improvements and converted those lanes to become express lanes during those same rush hours. And what that does, the HOV travelers that were traveling on it previously can still continue to travel on those lanes, toll-free. But it also provides a new opportunity for toll-paying customers who would like to get on that stretch of 66 to get in and out of DC. We have 33 miles that are under construction. 22.5 miles of that is the I-66 outside the Beltway, which VDOT is partnering with Express Mobility Partners on, and you've just heard a very thorough briefing on that from Chris. And then on I-95, we have a 10-mile extension going from Stafford County to the Rappahannock Bridge in Fredericksburg. That extension is being done by another private operator under a concessionaire agreement with VDOT. We have 3 miles that are going to be soon under construction in 2022, and that's on I-495, and it picks up where the 495 express lanes currently terminate near the Dulles Toll Road to just past the George Washington Memorial Parkway interchange toward the American Legion Bridge. And that's the project I'm going to give you an update on today. We have some other smaller things happening. We have a new express lanes ramp that is under design and will begin construction. We just took that to public hearing back in October, and that just provides a new dedicated access point for drivers in the Prince William County area wanting to get on and off the express lanes at Opitz Boulevard. And then we have a new initiative that we are kicking off an environmental study for, which we're calling the I-495 South Side study. And that basically, we're taking a look at the area where there's a gap in express lanes on the southern side of the Capitol Beltway, going from the Springfield interchange south across the Woodrow Wilson Bridge and through just past the Maryland 210 interchange. So, okay, next slide. So our 495 Northern Extension Express Lanes project, we refer to that as 495 Next. That is approximately $442 million project that is underway. As I said, we kicked off environmental analysis and traffic studies in that back in 2018. So we're over 3 years into that, and we have completed, if you could go back to the other slide, Cindy. Thank you. We've completed our environmental phase of that work, and we're in the final stages of our procurement phase. We expect construction to begin in earnest in 2022. We do have some early construction works happening now, basically some exploratory type work, so that the contractors can get out there and do survey work and know what they're dealing with. It's a 3-mile extension, or it's about 2.5 miles on actual 495 itself. Again, it goes from where the lanes currently end near the Dulles Toll Road interchange to past the GW Parkway in the vicinity of the American Legion Bridge. We expect this 3-mile extension to be done in 2025. And this is a public-private partnership that we are working on with Transurban, who is the operator of the 495 express lanes. They went through a procurement process with us, and this is considered to be a concessionaire enhancement to their existing 495's network, 495 express lanes network. Next slide. Okay, the alignment of this portion of express lanes will look just as it does today on 495. We'll be building 2 extra lanes on the inner portion of 495. It'll be separated from the regular or general purpose lanes on 495 by the bollards that you see there in the picture. So again, there will be 4 lanes total, 4 new express lanes total, 2 on each side. The lanes will be free as they are today for vehicles with 3 or more people in them. Buses, anyone carpooling with that meet the HOV requirement of 3 or more people. Anyone with fewer than 3 people can choose to be on the lanes by paying a toll. And on this facility, currently trucks with 3 or more axles are not permitted to travel on the 495 express lanes. Next slide. There are other project benefits that we are gaining from this extension project. It includes improving and rebuilding about 7 new bridges across the Beltway and at the various interchanges within the project corridor. We'll be adding new bike and pedestrian trails, including a parallel trail to 495, as well as new trails on the crossings across 495. We'll be replacing existing noise walls and constructing a new noise wall as part of the project. And we'll be providing and enhancing stormwater management facilities in that portion of 495. We'll also be doing stream restoration and stabilization work. Our private partner on this project has made a commitment to provide approximately $1.4 million to Fairfax County for restoring streams at Scott's Run. So that's a significant commitment to improving the environment as part of this project. Next slide. This is a timeline that shows you where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. We began in spring of 2018 with an environmental assessment. In the winter of 2019, we began our procurement process working under a framework agreement with Transurban, the existing operator and concessionaire to the Commonwealth on the 495 express lanes. They had to go through a process where they had to provide responses and a proposal meeting our specific requirements, technical and financial requirements on this project. That process has taken place. We reached what we call commercial close, which is essentially we've finalized our negotiations with Transurban, and we have a final project agreement. We reached that milestone in fall of 2021. We expect Transurban to reach financial close in early 2022. Our environmental process has concluded. We received a finding of no significant impact from the Federal Highway Administration. Virginia's Commonwealth Transportation Board has given their approval for us to proceed with this project. And our partner, Transurban, has procured a design build contractor that will start building the project. As I mentioned, they are doing some early exploratory work now. They're working on finalizing project designs, and they will begin construction in 2022. We expect the extended lanes to be open to traffic in 2025. Next slide. It's a very obvious question, but people want to know what's going on with Maryland, because the American Legion Bridge does present a major gridlock. It's one of the biggest gridlocks, bottlenecks in our traffic bottlenecks in our region and probably within the country. We have been working closely with Maryland throughout the development of our project. Maryland, as many of you probably already know, are also in the planning and environmental study phase of developing their own express lanes project. That would include widening the American Legion Bridge and adding express lanes to I-495 and I-270 on the Maryland side of the bridge. Back in November 2019, our governor and Maryland's governor signed a historic agreement, which we call the Capital Beltway Accord. And that basically was the commitment from both states to work together to coordinate with our respective projects to make sure that they were would accommodate each other, would work well together, could be constructed without any conflict, and would provide a driver a very similar express lanes experience. Both of our projects, our initiatives on both sides of the bridge, share a commitment to enhancing transit and providing transit options as a major benefit of the express lanes. As Chris indicated in his remarks, and what we've expressed a couple times through the last few slides, is that express lanes are designed to provide drivers a more reliable and a faster trip than what they would currently experience on the regular lanes. There's major enhancement for people wanting to carpool. It's very attractive to carpoolers or to buses because you will finally have a more reliable trip, which is something that you don't have today. The lanes are free for people that are traveling in carpools with 3 or more people. Buses also travel the lanes for free. So the express lanes, just by their very own nature, create a transit environment, and that is very attractive to transit. They create new opportunities and greater incentives for people to want to join carpools, for buses, and so forth. Maryland and Virginia, our respective transit organizations, have been working on a study where they've looked at what the transit needs are in the corridor, and they've come up with recommendations. And the states are working very hard and are committed to trying to implement as many of those transit recommendations as possible. Next slide. Virginia's commitment to funding transit funding was incorporated into our project agreement with our partner, Transurban. As part of that agreement, the Commonwealth has committed to provide an initial $5.2 million for a purchase of buses that would provide bus service on the express lanes. between the Tysons area and Montgomery County area in Maryland. And then the private partner has committed to providing 2.2 million, I believe annually, but I need to confirm that. But I know there's an initial commitment of 2.2 million when construction begins. No, I believe it is annually, and that money would go toward operating those buses. We are hoping that bus service can begin during the construction phase as a traffic mitigation program to help people not have to be stuck in construction and give them the option to start choosing a bus service or trying it out during construction before the express lanes are open. And that's what we're working on currently. Next slide. This is our timeline that shows the coordination and the overlap of both the VDOT 495 Next project and Maryland's Express Lanes Initiative. And this shows you where we are in late fall 2021, which I've already gone over. On the Maryland side of things, they are in the final stages of their environmental study, where they did an environmental impact study. They've gone through public hearings, multiple public information meetings, and they're in the final phases of that. They expect that final environmental impact statement and their decision from the Federal Highway Administration to happen in spring of 2022. Their decision-making authority within the state is the Maryland Board of Public Works, and they're expecting a decision from this entity on their procurement, which it will also be procured as a public-private partnership. And they expect that decision point to happen in the summer of 2022, with the potential of reaching financial close basically next year at this time. We're a little ahead of Maryland. Obviously, our 3 miles is a lot smaller of an area than what Maryland is undertaking. We expect our project to be open in 2025. And I want to apologize for the slides advancing automatically like that. I think there might have been a glitch where the slides were not advancing manually. So Cindy, you did a great job covering for that. I really appreciate that. And I want to apologize to anybody that might have been distracted by that.
Yeah, I was so curious what happened. So
we've had it on a couple of our slideshows where it defaults to automatic advancement, and it's we don't want that. We want it to be manual, and so I do apologize for that. But thank you very much.
Experience I encountered.
Thank you
for the wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I saw a question from Stan Fuji. Is this transformation of the I-66 expected to provide relief entering I-66 to the traffic backup from 2 to 5 signal cycles to 2 to 3 minutes per cycle, where you enter from roads such as 234 bypass, exit 44 Manassas, and Subway Road, exit 47, and Route 28?
I'm glad to take that. So I can tell from the tone of Stan, it's hard to read tone in an email, but I can tell that Stan is a road warrior based on his very specific description. And the good news is the answer is yes. In addition, unfortunately, the video didn't play, which would have talked about some of this, but in addition to making traffic flow freer on all of I-66, out in Prince William County in those specific areas, there will be direct access to the express lanes from a new park and ride lot that's under construction right now, right off of Balls Ford Road. So Prince William County is widening Balls Ford Road, and we're putting in over 1,000 parking spaces there. It's a small side street that's called Century Park Drive, but that'll allow you to go straight from the commuter parking lot directly onto the express lanes. And then the same thing with the commuter parking lot that's already partially opened out in Gainesville. Drivers are able to access 66 directly from those commuter lots as well. So there'll still be the traditional areas where you can get on the highway And our goal is to make the highway flow smoother, but now there are 2 additional access points there. So for example, if you lived off Balls Ford Road, you don't have to backtrack to 234 or get over to Route 29. You could just go straight up Century Park Drive and get onto the highway that way. You don't necessarily need to park to be able to use those new access ramps that are from the parking facilities that are being built. So Stan, help is on the way. It should be there in about 12 months.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the one similar to that off Cushing Road, which is off the 234 bypass.
Right.
And I know where they're building the new one, so that's going to be really nice. But even like in the afternoon, I retired. I play a lot of golf. I play golf on the other side of 66 up at Heritage Hunt and up in the
Right.
Gainesville market area. And so even at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when you think there would be no traffic going that way, it's still backed up. Part of that's because of construction, but it's still a choke point right there as well.
Yeah, so, off the I-66 corridor, that's where Prince William County is using the concession funds we talked about to do all of those improvements on Balls Ford Road, and they have a lot of other work going on the Parkway. So short-term pain relative to today's construction, but it'll all flow a lot more smoothly when we're open. And just since we're talking about that area, Michelle can correct me if I'm wrong, but about 2 years ago, VDOT also opened an additional park and ride facility just to the west in Haymarket. So when you add up Cushing, Haymarket, the 2 new lots, we talked in one of the first slides about trying to create a carpooling culture. So hopefully more people take more transit options. And then with the specific solution to I-66 with traffic flowing better, that should bring congestion relief to all the feeder roads that we've been just mentioning now.
I love the work that was done off I-95. So a lot of times, even though I live in Manassas off 66, I'll cut over to 95, which is a 15 to 20 minute drive, to hop on 95 and then cut in just because it's faster.
Right.
It's the hard part is the work done on I-66 is great. It's the access to I-66 because of the way that the signals are right there. It's like if they built a bridge over some of those roads like Balls Ford to make it easier to get on, it would just cut out that one signal. I mean, but then it would just fill I-66 up that much faster.
Well, we want to fill the express lanes to make a shameless plug for toll payers. But yeah, that's the philosophy behind that almost $600 million payment that we made is you can't just fix the highway and ignore everything next to the highway. So that's where the counties were able to bump up their transportation priorities with that investment that they might not have had funding for before. So you're seeing a lot of construction today. And it's all going to untie the traffic knot, as it were.
I think you're seeing a lot more, you're seeing already a lot more improvement at the Route 28 interchange, as Chris indicated.
Yeah.
We have a lot of, in addition to the dedicated access to and from the express lane, there's been a lot of improvements on that stretch of Route 28 around 66. So, we're definitely very, we acknowledge, that the challenges that you all are facing, and we're doing the very best we can, with the project resources and the enhancements that, we've gained from working with 66 Express Mobility partners. We're trying to do as much as we can with the resources available.
Thank you. So, Stan, you have another hat now, you're a road warrior. Another question, is there technology deployed or planned to be deployed to catch HOV cheaper effectively?
Was that to catch HOV cheaters?
Catch HOV cheater effectively.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you think about it, the HOV is to encourage more carpooling and to move more people, but it relies on the public to play by the rules. So when we talk about HOV cheating, a great analogy that we use, it's like shoplifting. You pay more at the store if they have an expense for people who are stealing from the store. And it's the same thing when it applies to HOV. So, there's a pilot going on with VDOT right now with some equipment inside the Beltway with detection technology that allows for better enforcement. But currently, the method is we partner with the Virginia State Police to observe, folks who might be going through an HOV lane without the required number of passengers. And I think we'll see a dramatic evolution of detection technologies over the next few years to make sure that everybody's paying their fair share. For example, when Michelle mentioned earlier the tolls on I-66 inside the Beltway that occur during rush hour, that's always been a restricted road for HOV commuters. And now the only people who are really paying a toll are people who weren't allowed to use that facility before. So it gave them one more choice, and they have the option of paying. So we are very focused on technologies, not just like HOV detection, but also technologies that will help facilitate future automotive technologies, things like connected vehicles being able to communicate with other vehicles and even with the highway. So I think you'll see some of those technologies introduced in the next couple of years as well.
But I think also I would add to that, that over the years, we have seen improvement in cutting down on HOV violators throughout the express lanes. As Chris said, the technologies are evolving, and we're tracking them very closely, working with our private partners to do that. Currently, as Chris indicated earlier, all vehicles traveling the express lanes must have an easy pass. And if you're traveling as HOV toll-free, you would have an easy pass flex. And that has basically a switch on it that you switch back and forth between HOV and non-HOV. So you would want to have that switch to HOV. The Virginia State Police that are stationed throughout the express lanes to monitor, they would see a flashing light on the overhead equipment that would indicate to them that that traveler has their transponder switched to HOV mode. They would then be able to do a visual inspection to confirm that. Obviously, they can't, they can't watch every single vehicle, but it does, it does cut back a lot on the violators, and it has helped improve that situation.
Wonderful. We have 3 minutes left. Anyone has more questions? Feel free just to chat or just to talk, and we can take one more question here. Chris, so sorry we couldn't play the video well. Is that video available on your website and people can easily find?
Yes, it's on our company website. It's also, you can find it on YouTube. If you just were to type I-66 into YouTube, it's one of the first videos that pops up. But the main website that we're encouraging people to get more information from is the VDOT project website. And it was on our last slide, but I'll repeat it again. It's transform66.org. And when you get to that website, you can either get more information about the 66 project inside the Beltway or outside the Beltway. And I see we have another question, which I'm very excited.
Yeah, please. I mean, feel free to just open the mic and ask.
Hi.
Hey.
I have a question. So VDOT, is looking for like a technology to make the roads safer, right? HOV and I-66. So we developed like a sobriety test by utilizing AI technology, such as a visual recognition, and a visual recognition means like eyes tracking and voice recognition. So is there any way for me to approach like a VDOT to pilot together?
I can put you in touch, Mr. Lee, with our basically our innovation team that works within VDOT. They have a lead who's based out of Northern Virginia, Hari Sripathi, but he also travels throughout the state. But I can certainly pass your information along to him. if you would want to send me an email and try to connect the two of you so you could have a conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michelle.
No problem. My email, if you want to jot it down, is Michelle,
Oh, one
or
second.
I can get it
Yeah.
to Cindy has it. She could push
Yeah.
it out as well.
I mean,
Right.
feel free to reach out to the chamber, and I can share Michelle's email contact information.
Or I can give
So-
it to you right now if you.
Yeah,
you
you
would like.
can.
I just put it in the chat room.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
perfect. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate
No
it.
problem.
Yeah. Also, Stan share the YouTube link for the video. Okay, I think it's 1 o'clock. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Another like a shout out to Chris and Michelle for being with us today and provide those well, really important information. Okay,
you.
we
Thank you for having us. And if you ever have an issue with VDOT or with I-66 specifically, reach out to Michelle or I, and we'd be glad to get back to you.
Absolutely. And we look forward to talking with you again in the future. And we appreciate the chance to meet with you. Thank you.
thank you, everyone. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.